Good afternoon or good morning, depending on where you are in the United States. This is Amanda Scott with Capture Higher Ed. I want to do a quick introduction of today's presentation, and I'm going to hand it over to our presenter. As I said, my name is Amanda, and I'm a Senior Director here at Capture, and I work with all of our markets, the graduate, undergraduate, advancement partners that all work with Capture with our gamut of services. And today we have one of our partners, Jefferson University, here to talk to us about a merger that they have gone through between Philadelphia University and Thomas Jefferson University, and we are just very happy to have their take on what they have gone through in the first year of this merger that has been all-consuming effort, which they'll tell you about. And a couple of items of housekeeping. We're going to have a 45-minute conversation between Jack Klett and individuals on campus that he's going to introduce you to, as well as then 10 minutes of open discussion where you can feed in questions and we'll answer those. So please go ahead, as you have questions, type those into your control panel sidebar, and we will have those as questions that Jefferson will answer after they talk you through the process of the merger and their key takeaways from the merger. We are going to have all of your lines are on mute, so we can't hear you, okay? So please hold all applause to the end. Just kidding. And make sure and give us those questions. We're going to have a copy of the recording that is sent to you afterwards, so just know that this will be available to you to listen to again or share with any of your colleagues. And last moment of housekeeping is before the holidays, before we hit Thanksgiving, which is fast approaching, don't forget to thaw out your turkey in advance. You will have a webinar that's special called "'Tis the Season, Search Season." So as many of you know, 'tis the season for name bias to be released, and Capture has our way using our predictive model and vision of going through search consulting. So we're going to have another webinar coming up on Tuesday, November 20th, that we'll send you guys an invite out to if you're interested in attending that as well. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Jack Klett. Jack Klett is the Director of Graduate and Online Initiatives at Capture. He also worked at Jefferson as well. So they are kind enough to come and talk to us, even though we have Capture has stole Jack over to work with us on our graduate and online programs, but he is an expert in undergrad enrollment as well. So you are in good hands today. Jack?
Amanda, thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Jack Klett, Director of Graduate and Online Initiatives for Capture Higher Ed. This is a Capture Higher Ed webinar delivering on year one of a merger. We are live at Jefferson's East Falls campus in the beautiful East Falls neighborhood of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the northwest section of the city. And I am super excited to bring to you one of this past year's most talked about stories in all of higher education. In July 2017, Philadelphia University and Thomas Jefferson University officially merged to form the new Jefferson. The result? Two very different universities combining around a common mission, delivering a 21st century professional education that values innovation, collaboration, and professional education outcomes for each and every student. Jefferson is now the 5th largest institution in Philadelphia, with 9 colleges and a world-renowned medical school, the Sidney Kimmel Medical College. Now, the merger provided steep challenges for enrollment and university marketing. I am joined by 2 of Jefferson's esteemed leaders today, Pat Baldridge and Erin Finn, and together we will discuss the unique challenges of growing enrollment and communicating an entirely new brand identity during the first year of forming a new institution. In the interest of full disclosure, as Amanda mentioned, I spent 11 years in enrollment management at Philadelphia University and had the highlight of my professional career working with the team here at Jefferson during year one, during the merger year. Pat, Erin, welcome.
Thanks, Jack. Thank you, Jack. We're really excited to be here.
Great. Pat, I'd like to start with you, if that works. Could you please share with our audience a little bit about your background and your current role here at Jefferson.
Sure, thank you. As I said, I'm really excited to be here. This has been an intense and fulfilling and rewarding year. I've been with this organization for about 19 years, coming here as the Vice President for Communications to what was then the Philadelphia College of Textiles and Science. And because of the growing or expanding portfolio of academic programs, we changed the name and got university status and changed the name to Philadelphia University. Today, I am the Senior Vice President for Marketing and Communications for the new Jefferson, the combination of Philadelphia University and Thomas Jefferson University. And it's been quite a wonderful experience. The thing that made this, and I know we'll talk about this a little bit more later, but the thing that really made this a very interesting merger is a little bit more about the history of Philadelphia University, and particularly in 2007 when Dr. Stephen Spinelli Jr. came from Babson University to Philadelphia University as president, and launched a strategic plan that really was around building a 21st century model for professional education, with the thought in mind that students have to graduate from college prepared to deal with a 21st century workplace. It's very different than anything we've ever experienced. I'm really looking at what employers need from college graduates. So we were one of the first to develop a unique curriculum we call Nexus Learning, and to this day we continue to use this as our hallmark curriculum that really is focused on transdisciplinary collaboration and real-world problems infused with the liberal arts. And it has been something that has resulted in a very high job and graduate school success rate. Right now we're at 96%. Our College of Architecture and the Built Environment is at 100%. It is a university that really focused in on the principles of design thinking to prepare students for careers across a variety of disciplines: architecture, fashion, health and science, business, engineering, etc. And in fact, in some of those areas like fashion and architecture, we have national and international recognition. So it's been an incredible experience over the last decade plus to really build an institution that was ripe for scaling. And so that's where we came into the relationship with Thomas Jefferson. So, okay,
Perfect.
so far?
Okay, so far. No, that's great. I appreciate the background of you professionally. And also, I think, getting into the background of Philadelphia University as an institution and certainly its legacy. And we'll talk more about how that institution, its culture, et cetera, has impacted the new Jefferson. So, Erin, I'm going to switch to you. Thomas Jefferson University is well known in the Philly region, certainly in part due to its connection with the Jefferson Hospital System. Can you describe a little bit about your background, your role at Thomas Jefferson University pre-merger, and also talk a little bit about Thomas Jefferson University as an institution prior to becoming the new merger?
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. My name, again, is Erin Finn, and my role here at Jefferson is Senior Associate Provost for Enrollment Management. And just a little bit about myself, I've been in higher education for 25 years in the Philadelphia market, and I've worked at a variety of different types of schools, primarily but not exclusively in enrollment management, admissions, financial aid. And I moved to Jefferson 4 years ago as Director of Enrollment Services after having been at Drexel for over 10 years. And at Jefferson, my initial role was really to oversee admissions and build out enrollment. And I can tell you that I joined Jefferson at a really opportune time. It's a really unique institution. And for those of you who are not familiar with Thomas Jefferson University pre-merger, it was exclusively a health sciences institution where we had a very big medical school and lots of programs in health professions, so occupational therapy, physical therapy, physician assistant, nursing, etc. And we're especially unique in that we didn't enroll a freshman class. We were 1/3 undergrad and 2/3 grad or professional, and our undergraduate students all came to us as transfer students, where they did their core curriculum at local community colleges or partnership universities, and then transitioned to us to complete their professional training. So the focus really of Jefferson was, and our tagline was, health is all we do. And that was surely the case. But 5 years ago, Dr. Steve Klasko took the reins at Jefferson and really made a commitment with some significant ambition to transform healthcare and education in Philadelphia. And he has really done so. When he took the help, started his career with Jefferson, that we had 3 hospitals. We're now on pace to have 21 hospitals as part of our health system. But more specific to this webinar and my own role at Jefferson, he worked on this merger and made this merger happen with Philadelphia University. And we are in the run-up to our bicentennial at Jefferson. We turned 200 years old in 2024.
Congratulations.
Well, thanks. We don't look a day over, 100. But really the intention was to think about the future rather than look in the rearview mirror. While we're proud of our legacy and we have a phenomenal foundation on which to build across both institutions, it really is about understanding the future of work, the face of the labor force to come, and the way you educate people to meet those market demands. So it's an exciting time to be here. And when the merger took effect, my role expanded to include oversight of enrollment management across both universities. And it has been an incredible partnership with marketing. And we have really had a wonderful year. So thank you for logging on today to hear a little bit about our story.
Well, I have to say, because, you talk a lot about the health science tradition of Thomas Jefferson University. Pat, in your comments, you mentioned College of Architecture and Built Environment. Then you have the Cambar College of Design, Engineering, and Commerce, so a full school of business. So to our audience, they may be thinking that these sound like 2 very different institutions. So I guess the question that begs is, why merge? What was it about these 2 institutions that made leadership at both places think that a merger was a good idea?
Well, I'll take that. I think from the perspective of Thomas Jefferson University, it was important to them to become much more than a health sciences university, to really expand the entire portfolio of academic offerings. For Philadelphia University, it was important to scale what we had done with the strategic plan so that we can be sure that these 2 institutions thrive moving into the future. The interesting thing, I think, for all of us is that while we had very different academic offerings, in our DNA for both organizations, it really came down to experiential learning. Thomas Jefferson University, really the medical college, was one of the first, or the first in the country to require physicians or students to practice on live patients before going out into the world of medicine, never having looked at a live person before. The Philadelphia University was very focused on experiential learning around the textile industry, and both have a real commitment to design thinking. So for us, it was a marriage made in heaven. The other thing I will say to you is to merge with an institution that is just like you really creates, I think, some more difficulties than we was not necessary to do. We did not want to merge with another institution that was just like us and have repetitive programs. In this merger, across 160 academic programs that we have, only 2 were the same. And so we've done some interesting things around that, but now we are a much broader professional university that goes across a variety of disciplines.
Anything to add?
No, I think I will just add, in addition to what Pat mentioned, this is Erin speaking. I really do want to underscore that it's that experiential learning, that health sciences is really all about clinical education. And so that's a big part of it. But the other part of it is that our leadership, Dr. Klasko and Dr. Mark Tukachinsky, our provosts, also really have been evolving the philosophy about health, in that, how do you take care of humans if you don't understand the human experience? And how do you deliver an education that comprehensively covers that? And the merger with Philadelphia University, which has lots of themes around in our hallmarks and nexus learning about, empathy and humanities and those types of things. So it really was not just a matter of fitting one puzzle piece into another, but really benefiting from what the other institution had to offer.
In fact, this is Pat. In fact, Jefferson has what they call the scale of empathy. And what both institutions pre-merger really understood very well and continue to understand very well today is that you cannot have creativity and innovation and therefore better outcomes without empathy. And I do think that that's a common theme that ran between both institutions.
Yeah, agreed. I was here, of course, in the fall of 2015 when we were first beginning to talk about the possibility of these 2 institutions in Philadelphia becoming one, and all of the challenges, but also amazing opportunities ahead that faculty began to work on and administrators began to work on. So July 2017 comes, and Philadelphia University and Thomas Jefferson University are now one. So before we get to the enrollment and marketing strategy to both communicate a new brand and to enroll a class, what was going on behind the scenes in preparation for the merger? I imagine, in fact, I know, there were a number of things that each of you were doing to prepare for the year ahead.
Sure. This is Erin. I'll go first on that one. Thanks, Jack. So as you can imagine, there was a lot of regulatory business to be worked through as it relates to accreditation and Department of Education approvals and due diligence. We had a team of people working on that. From the enrollment management standpoint, we worked under the framework that our university leadership provided for us with something called early wins. And we had a series. Each early win team that was designed was asked to identify ways that we could work together pre-merger to start the knitting of our institutions and optimize opportunities for our students. So we started with those early wins. And then pre-merger, as things really heated up and we were getting ready, colleagues in enrollment on Thomas Jefferson University side and Philadelphia University side came together, and we devised what we referred to as our 90-day agenda. What did we need to accomplish in the run-up to the official merger to make sure that we would be ready to head into the heat of an admission cycle prepared to deliver on enrollment goals? And then we really kind of followed through on all of that, where from a leadership standpoint, with our teams, with our university leadership, and with our partners throughout the university, we chose discrete periods of time. Like we had a 100-day agenda that we defined our objectives for and worked toward those. And then we set strategic priorities for the rest of the time. But the whole idea pre-merger was really to understand what were the opportunities that we had that we wanted to optimize in year one, and what were the nuts and bolts that we had to work through, which, as you can imagine, those were considerable.
Yeah, I can imagine with knitting together 2 enrollment management operations, and many in our audience, I think, can relate to the idea that We all have our own challenges sometimes with our own CRMs and our own SIS systems. So imagine having two separate systems for a campus that is for a university that's about to become one institution. Pat, I know you have some comments about this, but I also want to ask you this question. I know, for example, folks in the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic regions couldn't really escape Jefferson. I had a colleague say to me, Jefferson is everywhere. So what goes into launching a new brand identity? And how did Jefferson handle this challenge of introducing the brand? And hopefully, in answering that question, you'll also be able to touch on some of the things that, from a marketing perspective, you were doing pre-merger to prepare for July of 2017.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. First, I would say not launch a brand, but shape a brand. We did a lot of work to shape the new brand for Jefferson, and the interesting thing is the motto that Thomas Jefferson University and Jefferson Health had was "Health is all we do," and health is no longer all we do. And so, how do you really bring an entire population along with what the new brand is? So I will tell you that after we signed the definitive agreement in September of 2016, a lot of work went into really identifying how we were going to message this once we were announcing the official merger of the two institutions. We did a lot of market research with alumni and prospective students and parents and guidance counselors, industry experts, and other members of the higher education community. We really did a lot of work with some external partners on developing the actual brand identity, which we needed to be ready to launch on the day that the merger became official. So there was a lot of work around developing that brand identity, not only for the university, but also for the athletics teams, brand guidelines, what the messaging was going to be, how we were going to get out to all of our different audiences. So there was a lot of work. We worked with 160/90 and Creative Communications Associates, as well as Future Brand, and it took a lot of collaboration across many partners, both internally and externally, to be ready for July 1st, 2017. One of the biggest things, and you talk about the idea that bringing two different systems together, but how do you present yourself as one institution, even though all those systems might not still be together? One great example of that is the website. So we had to launch a website on July 1st, 2017, when we still were not completely merged. When we still are not. We said it would take up to 3 years to complete the merger. We're in year 2 now. And so there were some real challenges that we had to address. And I think we were able to do that in large part because of our partnership with Enrollment. We've, I think, developed a unique closeness among the marketing and enrollment management folks to be able to put together at least something that when our I would say our number one external audience, the prospective student, comes to our website, at least they can find where they need to go. Shaping the new brand of Jefferson, I've said, we've had to introduce a lot of different product lines to the Jefferson brand that people know. So they know Jefferson as health and science. They don't know Jefferson for fashion and architecture and engineering and business. So our work really revolved around the development of a brand campaign that reached well beyond the Philadelphia area, to help people understand that Jefferson is architecture, is fashion, is design, is health, is medicine, science, textiles, etc. And as we'll talk later about the results that we've had, we've seen real examples of people buying into what we are presenting to them. And if you just walk around our campuses and you see students walking with Jefferson T-shirts and our new athletic gear, it's literally everywhere. And so we're seeing really great response both internally and externally.
Well, we've talked a lot about kind of reshaping the brand and what that looked like from a planning standpoint. So I want to give our audience a bit of a taste of that brand experience. For those of you who are with us today, I am about to go ahead and play a video for you. Just note that if you had dialed in for audio by phone, the audio for this video is actually going to come through your computer speakers. So that's fair warning to make sure your speakers are on so that you can hear this. And let's take a look. I love that video. I've been saying it for like a year and a half. You said it was incredibly fun to make.
Yeah.
I want to give credit where credit is due. So who helped you with that?
So that was our work with 160/90.
Yeah, they did a great job. What I love about it is that it really does position the legacy of both institutions, Philly U and TJU, in a way that really brings home the future value proposition, what is now the current value proposition of the new institution. So I do want to shift gears a little bit to you, Erin. The only reason I kind of fully understand your recruitment challenge is because I was fortunate enough to live it with you. And, you know, this was kind of interesting, right? Because here we are Jefferson. So we have Philadelphia University programs, Thomas Jefferson University programs, and we're really making a promise to students that the programs that they may have been interested in from the time that they were maybe freshmen, sophomores in high school are still here, are still delivering on the promise. So I guess my question for you is, can you speak specifically to the challenge Enrollment was facing with the launch of a new brand?
Sure. Some of them I think will be obvious. I'm going to outline four. One is that, as Pat and Jack have both alluded to, the name Thomas Jefferson University and Jefferson was not affiliated with the programs that came into the university from the Philadelphia University side. So helping our market understand that Jefferson is architecture and Jefferson is design and not just health was, I would say, the number one challenge that we faced. And slightly related to that was just the confusion around the name. We use the equation in our logo right now where we have Jefferson, Philadelphia University plus Thomas Jefferson University. And as part of the transition, there were a lot of questions around that. So I often say, if the conversation begins with you explaining your name, you're probably not talking about what you want to be talking about with your market. But thankfully to our partners in marketing, they did so much to overcome that. The other issue, it really had to do with our freshman class. The freshman guidance counselors don't know the name Thomas Jefferson University. Because we were working at the transfer and graduate and professional school level, that entire group of influencers had to become acquainted with Jefferson. And yes, the Philadelphia University programs were hopefully not too unfamiliar to them, but really connecting the dots and aligning that all for their students and for themselves was something that we had to focus on. The third challenge that we faced really was just very mechanical and lots of nuts and bolts. And I'll admit, these are the things that I classify under necessary evils of things that you have to have meetings about, right? Like, how are we answering the phone? What are we doing with our business cards at this point? We have to turn over all of our collateral materials in a very, very short period of time. So those were lots of things that had to get done very quickly. And then lastly, I would say the fourth biggest challenge that we faced had to do with our staff. Because as you can imagine, human beings in transition requires change management. And we had 50 enrollment professionals, or I should say admissions professionals across 2 campuses. And these are the folks who are going to be our ambassadors for the new brand and be on the front lines of explaining what we're trying to do and really driving the enrollment, the achievement of enrollment goals. So I personally spent a lot of time caring for and designing our organization, bringing people in. We had 13 open positions at the beginning of the cycle last year because a lot of people across both campuses, a lot of people just decided to opt out of our crazy adventure. Or it was time for them to move on for other reasons, and that's okay. But really understanding the role of these 50 people in the success of year one really was a big focal point of mine, and fortunately something that I really love about our work. And I get to work with a lot of good people, so in that way lots of things came together, but it was something that really required a lot of focus.
We are about to turn a corner here and dive into some of the strategies you both deployed. And for everyone listening, I want to tell you, I promise we are going to get to the results of this year one journey. But before we do, I want to step back and speak a bit about the partnership between enrollment management and marketing at Jefferson. Now, I've witnessed this partnership personally, and it was amazing to see. Having provided consulting services over the years for 20 plus university and college partners, I've seen enrollment management work well with marketing. I've also seen plenty of examples where the partnership was really anything but a partnership. So why is it that the two of you, and by extension your teams, worked so well together? And I'm going to add one additional question to this. Was there a particular organizational design philosophy or culture that fostered this collaboration, or did it come down to, in the purest sense, just mutual need?
This is Pat. I'll start by saying that to me, this merger, and in any institution, we have a big job ahead of us. We have to recruit students. We have to make sure that we have, I'll use a term from Erin, that we're shaping the class, that we're doing the right things by the institution. And in my mind, it has never been an appropriate thing to have marketing and enrollment management not tightly knit together and connected at the hip. It is the only way for us to achieve the goals that we need to achieve, that our leadership expects us to achieve. It just so happens that we lucked out, that we both feel the same way, and I think we have very similar ways of handling issues, and we get along really well, and we have fun together. And I think our teams do as well. But that's all nice and great, right? That's the icing on the cake. But to me, it was much more important that we develop a synergistic approach on how we let the world know about the new Jefferson, or else we were not going to succeed, and that was not an option.
Yeah, and I'll just add, if that's okay, in thinking through this aspect of the partnership, like Jack described, I've worked at institutions where there hasn't always been alignment in mission, and we benefited from our university leadership clearly defining what success in year one would look like. And success in year one was defined in many ways by healthy enrollment, however we define that in terms of headcount or composition or quality of our students. So in that way, we got clear direction that we should be working together. And in addition to that, I can just speak personally that I lucked out. Even before the merger, I called Pat on her cell phone one day and said, I think I might have a problem. I'm sorry to bother you, but can I talk through this? And her response was, Erin Finn, if you have a problem, I have a problem. And that really set the tone for our working relationship. And boy, what a relief to feel that you have a partner that is just as invested in the success as we collectively define it. And it's been really wonderful in that way.
Can I just jump in and say, back to something you mentioned earlier, Erin, around early wins and the design philosophy of this, Jack. The fact of the matter is our leadership, while they did not say, okay, Erin and Pat, you must work together, we knew we needed to work together. It's just the way this organization works. But the fact that as part of the merger thesis and the merger, operationalizing the merger, this idea of early wins brought hundreds, I think 500 people across both institutions together to come up with, I think, about 160 early wins. It's what got the faculty so excited. I mean, we've seen faculty here just digging in and figuring out how can we collaborate across colleges and across campuses? How can we benefit our students more from this merger? And we're seeing that happen. So as part of their example, I think it just made it easier for us to come together as a team.
So I want to get into the meat of the strategy here. This is a fairly open-ended question. Simply, how did you do it? What were the strategies you deployed, Erin, in order to enroll a class during year one of this merger? And an extension of that to both of you, were there moments where you said, oh no, this isn't working? And if so, how did you course correct?
Yeah, so, you always go back to basics as an enrollment manager, and, our job's the same every year, right, in this way, where we try to define goals and get a sense of what the leadership values. Is headcount, revenue, quality, composition, and what order, what are we managing to? So we got clarity around that. And then I like to think of our strategy portfolio in 3 buckets. One is our foundational strategies, those things that every enrollment management office needs to do well. And those include things like, your on-campus event and visit program, your off-campus recruitment strategy. I'll share with you that one of the biggest changes that we made that was really nerve-wracking in year one was prior to the merger, we were on rolling admission for our freshman class. And we really wanted to drive business more proactively. So we went to an early action regular decision model. So we rendered all of our point in time reports completely meaningless. So that was a challenge.
That was fun.
Yes, right. A little bit of a nail biter, before May 1st, which was a deadline that we had also managed to do differently. So under those foundational strategies, we thought about what is the admissions timeline? What is our pricing and discounting strategy. So all of that foundational stuff. And then we did other things that I refer to as enhanced strategies, which I don't think are rocket science, but they're parts of the business that you just spend time thinking about. So how do you manage an application pool? What types of outreach are you doing? One of the things that we did with tremendous success this past year was extensive deny remarketing, because as part of a comprehensive university, prior to the merger, lots of times you deny a student because you didn't have a plan B option for them. Well, now with a more comprehensive portfolio of programs, you maybe had a secondary option for them. So we went in and mined our application pools for those students for whom we didn't have a seat in their first choice, and talked with them and counseled them about other opportunities. So that's what I refer to when I think about enhanced strategies. And then finally, we always want to have a short list, sometimes a long list of experimental strategies, things that we've never done before. We don't have any point in time benchmark data. And capture was really our biggest experiment this year. And boy, what a risk that paid off in terms of what we were able to do with outreach and our applicant interface, data analytics. They're not asking me to say this.
I was going to say thank you.
Yeah.
Unsolicited endorsement.
Yeah, but something that we watched closely, and we had a short list of experiments that we were trying that, they could be boom or bust. And we continue to work on those. So that was really, our approach. And then I'll just add that, like every enrollment shop, right, you unleash your strategy and then you monitor your reports and try to determine what's working and what's not working. And that's really where it became hard, quite frankly, where there were lots of things that weren't working or to the degree that we wanted them to. So we had a team that was just incredibly nimble. Like maybe we were seeing a major that was traditionally very, very strong that was suffering under the new name. Or we, were having a problem figuring out how our athletes go to programs that cross two campuses. So those were the types of things that we started working through. But that's where the rubber hits the road as an enrollment office. And I could say that the members of my team really rose to the occasion.
Pat, I know that there were probably some things that you saw as we were kind of going through this year where you thought, these are some things that we might need to tackle a little bit differently. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, just let me say that from a marketing perspective, I consider my two biggest clients are enrollment and philanthropy, number one. So no matter what we do, from an overall branding standpoint, has to speak to the audiences that those two areas hold near and dear to their hearts, or else, we have no business being here. So we did, our approach this year really was to be as disruptive as possible in the marketplace, and then to support that with a lot of block and tackle. And I do think that, and I think Erin would speak to this as well, we started to see real results and a lot of traffic to our website, et cetera, as we got out there into the marketplace through overall branding and enrollment marketing strategies. But what we weren't seeing is as much of a result with our Philadelphia University traditional academic programs like fashion and design. I think some of those prospective students were thinking, why would I go to a health sciences university for a degree in fashion or an engineering degree? So to use Erin's terminology, we had to diagnose and course correct and really focus in on it. And from a Jefferson brand 2.0, we are laser focused on helping people to understand that Jefferson stands for a variety of programs, that we are a broader professional university, and we're already starting to see that work across the disciplines that have not or did not do as well this year as we would like to have seen them do.
Yeah, and being on this East Falls campus, it is clear to everyone that design, architecture, business, all of those Philadelphia University programs are alive, well, and thriving.
Yes, absolutely. And let me just add one quick thing. What we did this summer, Erin and I pulled together what we called an enrollment marketing summit, and we brought all of our partners, external partners, internal partners, all of the deans, dozens and dozens, probably more than 100 people together over a couple of days to really look at debrief our first year and to really inform our strategies for this year. And I think that was one of the most rewarding couple of days in my entire career to see all of these people come together, not as competitors, but as part of the Jefferson team. How do we advance the mission, and how do we accomplish our goals as a team? And we're starting to see that really pay off.
Well, I think we have delayed this long enough. Folks are probably wondering, well, what were the results? So a very simple question. Erin, how did everything work out?
Yeah, well, considering what could have gone wrong, right? We had a year that I'm proud of professionally. Overall, for our enrollment portfolio, we saw a 5% increase across all enrolling groups. But the real groups that we were hyper-targeted on were our freshman class, which we increased by 16%. Our transfer class out here in East Falls, which we increased by 38%. And we saw a reduction in melt. We saw an increase in visits. Really, all of those metrics that you managed to were all pointing in the right direction. So in the aggregate, we really were able to deliver for the university what they were looking for in terms of an increase in enrollment. And then I'll let Pat speak to some of the accolades received in other venues.
Yeah, so really exciting this year that we had a meteoric rise in the brand, in the rankings for U.S. News and World Report. We went to number 15, which was a really big, from 64 to 15 in the North region. We are listed as one of the most innovative universities in the region and one of the most valuable institutions in the region. In addition to that, we've won probably close to 10 national awards for our branding. And the most recent that I'm really proud of is the Transform Awards North America, which is an international awards organization and branding organization. And not only did we win in every category that we entered for brand identity after a merger, brand evolution, but we won the grand prize or the Grand Prix for Best of Show, beating out brands like Coach and Stuart Weitzman, GE, Amazon.
Tiny little places.
Tiny little places. We won Grand Prix for Best of Show, and it's really exciting because the work we did with Future Brand around developing the brand identity is a modern shield that really is very forward-looking, but does honor the legacy of both institutions. We cannot face forward and achieve our goals around the future of work by ignoring our past, because both institutions, whether it's Thomas Jefferson University's legacy or Philadelphia University's legacy, are now one history of the new Jefferson, and it is what has gotten us to this point in time. And so we really have seen, we've just been ranked again in Business of Fashion internationally for our fashion programs. Our health and science programs are being ranked. So we've seen a really spectacular response from the outside community.
Well, that is great news. Congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
And to the institution and this entire campus community. I can tell you both from a personal perspective and also I will say this on behalf of Capture, it was an honor to be a part of it.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you as part of it.
Thank you. I have asked you enough questions, so Amanda, I know you are watching that questions board, so we do have some time here to answer some questions from the audience.
Sure, just a reminder for everyone to type in a question if you may have one. One question that I have is, talk to me about what your main student and parent objections were when they were sitting in the admission counselor's office or having that conversation over the phone of, you know, what scared them the most about attending a merged institution?
That's a great question, Erin.
Yeah, sure. Right, so it's all about what the student and parents are thinking. One of the benefits that we had, at least with the freshman market, was that there had been a lot of buzz in our region about it. So for many people, it wasn't a surprise. For other people, maybe they didn't even know about us until we reached out through our strategies. So we had a chance to introduce ourselves as a merged institution. So we found, to our surprise, that there was less anxiety within the freshman market and their parents about the merger. There was just a little bit more confusion. And I'll give the example that, one parent said to me, so at Philadelphia University, and she kept referring to the school as Philadelphia University, and I said, actually we're now Thomas Jefferson University, and she said, I thought it was just an arrangement where it's Philadelphia University operated by Thomas Jefferson University, but it was still Philadelphia University. And I had another student at orientation, so had gone through the entire decision process to attend our institution, and at orientation ask me a quick question and say, I meant to ask you, what name of the school is going to be on my diploma? Mm-hmm. So it was surprising to me after having gone through the entire cycle. So, the people who opt into a Jefferson education, I think they have a sense of adventure is my brief assessment. So we really benefited from less anxiety and more confusion, and we were able to address some of the confusion. Mm-hmm. That being said, there were a couple of isolated incidences on the Jefferson side where students who had other options, maybe 3 or 4 students who said, I'm not interested in I'm going to choose another school because I don't know how this is going to affect administratively the university. You guys have a lot to work out. And I'm less sure that my program will be impacted. So I think grad students were maybe a little more savvy about it, but the undergraduate market was pretty impervious.
So what about those change-resistant employees that you may have? I will color a story that I used to be a financial aid director, and I went to move a filing cabinet one time, and I had an employee pretty much break out in hives because she was afraid that we were breaking federal law, not having 2 points of entry. So there are some people who, surprisingly don't like change. So talk to me about how you mitigated that with merger with your faculty and staff.
Yeah, this is Pat. I think that's a great question, and one that I'm proud to say that I think we have not seen a huge turnover, and partly because the leadership was really smart enough to do an early wins process. By bringing people together early to collaborate with one another and to be part of the experience of merging the institutions made it a little less scary. Now, that's not to say that people aren't nervous about change. They are. But I know from both the Thomas Jefferson University legacy side and the Philadelphia University legacy side, both institutions were so used to change that this really was not that out of the ordinary. It was the biggest change we'd ever been through, but both organizations understood change and how to manage through it. One thing I will say from a student perspective, current students, the graduating seniors from Philadelphia University, the year right after we merged, they were going to be the first graduates as Thomas Jefferson University of the merged university, and they were given the opportunity to have either Philadelphia University or Thomas Jefferson University on their diploma. Many had asked to be able to have that opportunity to do it, and few did. Most people graduated with Thomas Jefferson University. So I think in the very beginning, people were nervous, but as the year went on and everyone saw that things were just going along as would be expected or better, that we got people really excited about the future of this organization.
Amanda, I want to be sensitive to people's time. We are heading toward 1 o'clock. So would it be okay if we forward on any additional questions to Erin and Pat directly offline and give them an opportunity to respond?
Sure, I think that's a great thing to do. I want to take a moment to thank our friends at Jefferson and Jack for hosting this webinar with us. Thank you for the kind words about Capture, and it made me laugh over here when you said we're one of your best experiments that turned out well. So thank you for being honest about sometimes things are scary, but you guys have definitely made such great strides in the last year, and we're very happy to work with you guys in our partnership together. As we move to the close here, we will be again sending a copy of this recording out, and remember that we have another webinar about Envision Search for 'Tis the Season search season on Tuesday, November 20th. So thank you everyone for joining.
I want to thank Erin and Pat personally for taking the time to share their story. Learn more about all the amazing things happening at Jefferson by visiting www.jefferson.edu. And for enrollment management and enrollment management marketing strategy news, be sure to visit capturehighered.com/blog. I'm Jack Klett, Director of Graduate and Online Initiatives for Capture Higher Ed. Make it a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.